You think that apple is red, don't you? Of course it is. You can see it right there. Red as anything. The grass is green, the sky is blue, roses are red, violets are blue. Colors are everywhere. They're the most obvious thing in the world. You see them, you name them, you organize your entire visual experience around them. But here's a question that's going to unravel everything you think you know about what you're seeing. What makes that apple red? Where is the redness? Is it in the apple itself? Is it in the light bouncing off the apple? Is it in your eyes? Where exactly does red live? Most people say something vague like, the apple absorbs other colors and reflects red light. But that just pushes the question back. What makes light red? What is redness made of? You've been seeing colors your entire life, but you've never actually seen a color, not once. What you call red isn't out there in the world at all. It's in your head. And once you understand what's really happening when you see color, you'll realize that the entire rainbow you experience is a construction project your brain is running. Reality is colorless. You live in a world of wavelengths and frequencies, and your brain paints them with colors that don't exist anywhere except inside your skull. Let me show you what I mean. Here's an experiment. Look around your room right now. Notice all the different colors. Reds, blues, yellows, greens, rich, vibrant, obviously real colors. They're just there, aren't they? Properties of the objects you're looking at. Now close your eyes. Where did the colors go? You might say they're still there, I just can't see them. But are they? What exactly do you think is happening to color when you're not looking? Here's what's really happening when you look at that red apple. Light from the sun or a lamp hits the apple. The apple's surface absorbs some wavelengths of light and reflects others. Specifically, it absorbs most wavelengths, but reflects light with wavelengths around 700 nanometers. That reflected light travels through space and hits your eye. So far, no color anywhere. There are just electromagnetic waves of a specific frequency bouncing around. The apple isn't red. The light isn't red. Red doesn't exist yet. The electromagnetic waves hit your retina. There, they trigger specific cells called cone cells. You have 3 types of cone cells, each sensitive to different ranges of wavelengths. Light around 700 nanometers primarily triggers the cone cells that are most sensitive to longer wavelengths. This creates a pattern of electrical activity in your retina. Still no red, just electromagnetic waves triggering electrochemical responses in biological cells. Those electrical signals travel up your optic nerve to your brain. Your brain processes these signals, compares them to other signals, runs them through incredibly complex neural networks that have been shaped by millions of years of evolution and decades of your personal visual experience. And then, somewhere in this processing, your brain constructs the experience of redness. It creates the sensation of red and projects it back onto the apple. You experience the apple as red, as if the redness were a property of the apple itself. But the red exists only in your brain. It's your brain's interpretation of a specific pattern of electromagnetic stimulation. The apple reflects 700 nanometer wavelengths. Your brain experiences this as red. The connection between the wavelength and the color is entirely arbitrary, entirely created by your nervous system. How do we know this? Because the connection can be broken. There are people who are colorblind. Their cone cells respond to different ranges of wavelengths, or they're missing certain types of cone cells entirely. When they look at your red apple, their brain constructs a different color experience or no color experience at all. The apple hasn't changed. The light hasn't changed. Only the brain's interpretation has changed. This proves that the color isn't in the apple or the light. It's in the interpretation. But it goes deeper than that. The specific color you experience depends not just on the wavelength hitting your eye, but on context, on surrounding colors, on your brain's expectations, on your past experiences, even on your culture and language. Look at this thought experiment. Imagine you could swap your color experiences with someone else's. When you look at a red apple, you experience what they experience when they look at a blue sky. When you look at a blue sky, you experience what they experience when they look at a red apple. But here's the crucial point. You would never know. You'd still call the apple red, because that's the word you learned to associate with that visual experience. You'd still call the sky blue for the same reason. The experiences would be completely different, but the language, the concepts, the categories would be identical. This isn't just speculation. We know that different people have slightly different color experiences based on genetic variations in their cone cells, differences in their neural processing, even differences in their language and culture. Russian speakers distinguish between light blue and dark blue in ways that affect their actual color perception. People from cultures with different color vocabularies literally see color boundaries differently. Your red isn't the same as my red, your blue isn't the same as my blue, and none of our colors are the same as the electromagnetic wavelengths that trigger them. Now you might be thinking, but surely the electromagnetic waves have some intrinsic color properties. Maybe we don't perceive them exactly right, but 700 nanometer light is inherently reddish, isn't it? No, electromagnetic waves have no color properties whatsoever. They have frequency, wavelength, amplitude, polarization, mathematical properties, physical properties, but no color properties. Color is something brains add to the world. Think about it this way. Radio waves, microwaves, X-rays, gamma rays, these are all electromagnetic waves, just like visible light. They have all the same physical properties: frequency, wavelength, energy. The only difference between radio waves and red light is frequency. Radio waves are lower frequency, red light is higher frequency. So why don't radio waves have color? Why don't you see your Wi-Fi signal as purple? Because your eyes can't detect radio waves, so your brain doesn't construct color experiences for them. But if you had evolved different eyes sensitive to radio frequencies, your brain might construct radio colors, entirely new color experiences that don't exist in your current visual world. This reveals something profound. The entire spectrum of colors you experience is just a tiny slice of the electromagnetic spectrum that your eyes happen to detect, painted with colors your brain happens to construct. It's not that you're seeing a small part of a larger colored world. You're seeing a small part of a colorless world, and your brain is adding all the colors. Ultraviolet light has no ultraviolet color. Infrared light has no infrared color. These are just names we give to frequencies outside our visual range. Many animals can see ultraviolet or infrared light, and their brains construct color experiences for these wavelengths. Bees see ultraviolet colors that have no names in human language because we don't have the neural machinery to experience them. Your color world is just one possible way of painting electromagnetic frequencies. It's not the right way or the complete way, it's just your species' particular way. But let's go even deeper. You might think, okay, so colors are brain constructions triggered by electromagnetic waves. But the electromagnetic waves are real, right? Even if the colors aren't in the waves themselves exist independently of my brain. True, electromagnetic waves are real. But here's what will really mess with your head. The waves your brain uses to construct colors aren't the waves hitting your retina right now. They're waves from the past. Light takes time to travel. When you look at the sun, you're seeing light that left the sun 8 minutes ago. When you look at the nearest star, you're seeing light from 4 years ago. When you look at distant galaxies, you're seeing light from millions or billions of years ago. Even when you look at something close, like that apple, the light you're seeing left the apple nanoseconds ago. It's old light. Your brain is constructing present-moment color experiences based on information from the past. And there's another problem. Your brain doesn't construct colors from individual wavelengths. It constructs them from combinations, from ratios, from comparisons between different wavelengths hitting different parts of your retina at different times. The red you see when you look at the apple isn't just created by 700 nanometer light. It's created by the relationship between 700 nanometer light and all the other wavelengths in your visual field, processed through neural networks that have been shaped by every color experience you've ever had. This is why the same apple can look different colors under different lighting conditions, in different contexts, at different times of day. The wavelengths reflected by the apple might be identical, but your brain constructs different color experiences based on surrounding wavelengths, expected patterns, contextual cues. Your color experience isn't just constructed, it's dynamically constructed moment by moment based on constantly changing inputs and comparisons. The red you see now isn't the red you saw a second ago, even when looking at the same object. But here's the part that should really disturb you. You can't step outside your color experience to see what's really there. Everything you know about electromagnetic waves, wavelengths, frequencies, you know these through scientific instruments that convert electromagnetic information into forms your brain can process. Graphs, numbers, visual displays. But those displays are also colored by your brain. When you look at a spectrometer readout showing a peak at 700 nanometers, Your brain is constructing color experiences for the display, for the numbers, for the graph lines. You can't escape the color construction to see the raw electromagnetic reality. You're trapped inside your brain's color world. You can understand intellectually that it's constructed, you can measure the underlying electromagnetic phenomena, but you can't experience the colorless reality directly. Your entire visual experience is mediated by neural processes that paint a colorless world with colors that exist nowhere else. This isn't a limitation of human perception that we might someday overcome. It's the fundamental nature of perception itself. Color is what electromagnetic frequency feels like from the inside of a visual nervous system, just like pain is what tissue damage feels like from the inside of a pain processing system, or music is what sound waves feel like from the inside of an auditory system. The electromagnetic waves are real. The neural processing is real. The color experiences are real. But the colors aren't properties of the electromagnetic waves. They're properties of the neural processing. Now let's bring this back to that red apple. When you look at it and see red, what's actually happening? Electromagnetic waves around 700 nanometers are bouncing off the apple and hitting your retina. Your cone cells respond with specific patterns of electrical activity. These signals are processed by incredibly complex neural networks in your brain. Somewhere in this processing, your nervous system constructs the experience of redness and projects it onto the apple. You experience the apple as red, but the red is not in the apple. The red is not in the light. The red is in the neural processing. It's your brain's way of representing a specific pattern of electromagnetic stimulation. But let's make this even more concrete with some examples that will completely break your intuition about color. Take white light. You think white is the absence of color, right? Or maybe the combination of all colors. Wrong on both counts. White light contains all wavelengths of visible electromagnetic radiation mixed together. When this mixture hits your retina, it triggers all three types of cone cells roughly equally. Your brain interprets this balanced stimulation as white, but here's where it gets weird. You can create the exact same white experience with just three wavelengths of light, red, green, and blue. Mix these three together in the right proportions, and your brain constructs exactly the same white experience as it does with the full spectrum. This proves that white isn't about the light at all, it's about the brain's response to the light. The same brain state, balanced cone cell activation, can be triggered by completely different electromagnetic inputs. Your experience of white is your brain's label for a particular pattern of neural activation, not a property of any specific electromagnetic combination. Or consider yellow. You see yellow when you look at light with wavelengths around 580 nanometers. But you can also see the exact same yellow when you look at a mixture of red light, 700 nanometers, and green light, 530 nanometers. There's no yellow wavelength in that mixture at all, but your brain constructs exactly the same yellow experience. This is impossible if colors are properties of light. How can the same color exist in completely different wavelengths? The answer is that yellow isn't in the wavelengths. Yellow is your brain's response to specific patterns of cone cell activation. This should fundamentally change how you think about color mixing. When you mix blue and yellow paint and get green, you're not mixing blue and yellow colors. You're mixing materials that reflect different wavelengths. The blue paint reflects short wavelengths. The yellow paint reflects medium and long wavelengths. When you mix them, you get something that primarily reflects medium wavelengths, which your brain interprets as green. The colors aren't being mixed. The wavelengths are being filtered and combined, and your brain constructs new color experiences in response to the new wavelength patterns. Now let's talk about color constancy, one of the most impressive tricks your brain pulls. You perceive objects as having stable colors even when the light illuminating them changes dramatically. A white sheet of paper looks white in sunlight, white under a fluorescent bulb, white under a candlelight. But these light sources have completely different spectral compositions. Sunlight is relatively balanced across all visible wavelengths. Fluorescent light is heavy on certain narrow peaks. Candlelight is heavily weighted toward longer wavelengths. The actual wavelengths reflected by the white paper are completely different in each case, yet you see the same white paper. This proves that your color experience isn't determined by the wavelengths hitting your eye. It's determined by your brain's interpretation of those wavelengths in context. Your brain compares the wavelengths reflected by the paper to the wavelengths reflected by other objects in the scene, makes assumptions about the light source, and constructs a color experience based on what it thinks the object's true color should be. Color constancy is your brain editing reality in real time. The actual wavelength information changes, but your brain maintains a consistent color experience by constantly reinterpreting the wavelength data in context. But color constancy can be fooled. Put on colored glasses and everything looks tinted at first. But after a few minutes, your brain adapts. It recalibrates its color construction system to treat the new wavelength patterns as normal. Colors start looking normal again, even through the colored lenses. Take off the glasses and everything looks tinted in the opposite direction until your brain readjusts. This proves that your color experiences are constantly being calibrated and recalibrated by neural processes you're not aware of. Here's another demonstration of how constructed color is. Stare at a red dot for 30 seconds, then look at a white surface. You'll see a green afterimage. Your brain constructs the experience of green in response to white light because the neural circuits responsible for processing red have become fatigued. The green you see in the afterimage isn't coming from green wavelengths. There are no green wavelengths there. Your brain is constructing green out of its own internal dynamics, its own fatigue patterns. The green exists only in your neural processing. This afterimage green is just as vivid, just as real to your experience as any real green, because there is no difference. All green is afterimage green. All color experiences are neural constructions. The only difference is what triggers the neural construction: external wavelengths or internal neural dynamics. Different animals have completely different color experiences because they have different visual systems. Many birds can see ultraviolet wavelengths and have 4 types of cone cells instead of 3. Their brains construct color experiences for electromagnetic patterns that are completely invisible to you. Each species constructs their own private color world from the shared electromagnetic spectrum. There's no correct color world, no true way that colors really look. There are only different neural interpretations of colorless electromagnetic information. Even within humans, color experiences vary significantly. The dress that broke the internet in 2015, some people saw it as blue and black, others as white and gold, demonstrated that even with the same image, human brains can construct completely different color experiences. But here's the deepest implication. If colors are neural constructions that don't exist in the external world, what does this tell us about consciousness? Colors feel like the most immediate aspects of conscious experience. When you see red, the redness seems undeniable. But if redness isn't in the world, if it's constructed by neural processes, then you're experiencing your brain's activity. This suggests that all consciousness might work this way. Your brain constructs all of conscious experience from unconscious neural processing. This doesn't make color experiences less real. They're completely real. They're just internal rather than external. The red you see is real red, genuine red, the only red there is. It's just not a property of apples or light. It's a property of brains. Every color you've ever seen, every red rose, every blue sky, every green leaf, every yellow sun, is your brain painting wavelengths with experiences that don't exist in the wavelengths themselves. The rainbow isn't out there in the world. The rainbow is in your head. And it's beautiful not because the world is colorful, but because your brain is capable of constructing such rich, vivid, meaningful experiences from colorless electromagnetic information. But here's the deepest realization. This isn't just true for color, it's true for all of perception. Sound waves have no sound. Sound is what your auditory system constructs in response to pressure waves. Molecules have no smell. Smell is what your olfactory system constructs in response to molecular shapes. Tissue damage has no pain. Pain is what your nervous system constructs in response to damaged signals. All of perception works this way. Your brain takes in raw physical information, electromagnetic waves, pressure waves, chemical signals, and constructs rich sensory experiences that don't exist in the raw information itself. You live inside your brain's construction of reality, not in reality itself. The world is colorless, soundless, odorless, painless. Your brain adds all the colors, all the sounds, all the smells, all the sensations. The experienced world is a neural simulation based on physical inputs, and that simulation is so detailed, so consistent, so compelling that you mistake it for the physical world itself. You think you see colors. You don't. You experience your brain's colorful interpretation of colorless electromagnetic patterns. You think colors are out there in the world. They're not. They're in your head, created moment by neural processes you can't directly access or control. And now that you know this, look around again. All those colors you see, they're not discoveries of what's out there. They're inventions of what's in your head. Your brain is painting the world with colors that exist nowhere else in the universe. You can't unsee this now. Every time you look at something colorful, you'll know the colors aren't in the objects, they're in your neural processing. The world is colorless. Your brain is the artist painting electromagnetic frequencies with experiences that exist nowhere else. Reality isn't what you see. What you see is what your brain constructs from reality. And that construction is far stranger and more beautiful than the simple world of colored objects you thought you lived in.